Well, good afternoon. I'm Jennifer McCrory. I'm the Director Curator of the Moose Jaw Museum and Art Gallery. And thank you for joining us on the first National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. We're here to have a dialogue with Dakota sisters Cassidy and Kayleigh Olson to talk about the memorial that they organized in Moose Jaw in remembrance of the discovered remains of 215 children on the former site of the Kamloops Indian Residential School. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that the Moose Jaw Museum and Art Gallery is situated on Treaty 4 territory on what is now known as Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, which is the traditional lands of the Nehewak, Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Saulteaux, Dakota, Nakota, Lakota, and on the homeland of the Métis Nation. We respect and honor all the treaties that were made on all territories. We acknowledge the harms and mistakes of the past, and we are committed to moving forward in partnership with Indigenous nations in the spirit of reconciliation and collaboration. At the Moose Jaw Museum and Art Gallery, we recognize that museums and art galleries are part of a colonial system, and we are committed to decolonizing our institution by inviting Indigenous voices to lead and inform our programming and the presentations of Indigenous art, stories, and history. And exhibitions like the Lost Children of the Residential School System is one of these actions. We've asked Barb Fraser, who's a Nehewak traditional knowledge keeper, to start us off with a prayer today.
I'm very grateful for another beautiful day that we have been gifted. So with that, I am very grateful to be a part of this incredible day that here. And I know I'm going to get it wrong. Today's very, very moving for us, from my family. So from there, as we look at truth and reconciliation and action, we'll start with a prayer song, the best way to open up this time together. Mateo gisi gu gisi pisam Mateas gisi pisam Nigani sema nigani So that song talks about how our tobacco and our prayer intention always goes first to open up anything that we do that speaks from our heart and speaks to and continues the ancestors' thinkings as we transition their knowledge forward in this time to the next generation. So, Niasigaso, Esquel, Esquel, Kiyo, Takos Kayapit. So that's Eagle Woman that sits on top of the earth. Nanaskumau, Mamaweo Gawimau, Mamaweo Dawimau. So I acknowledge the grandfather of the universe, the grandmother of the universe. Mamaweaski Kayapi Akama Oma Kaipi So as we sit here in this particular place on Mother Earth, as we come together to work together to understand, Kakio Kimupai, and Miupailivin Kawapatama, so that we look at working together, kinship, bringing that sense of community, and that everything we do is going to unfold and work out in a good way to the best and the common where everybody arrives at the same place in a good way. So with that, I wish everybody a great and a very happy day. And as we carry our loved ones in our heart, those in the past of their suffering, and that we're still bringing forward to help them carry that, so that in our generation we don't carry that pain, but we acknowledge it. So Xanma Nanasko Mao to the Moose Jaw Museum and Art Gallery for leading this work, and for the Olson sisters. They're doing great work, and I acknowledge and am humbled by their commitment to great change. Hi, hi, Xanma.
Um, Thank you to Barb Fraser for that prayer. And I just wanted to say, in honor of the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, we wanted to create a space for listening and learning about the truths of Indigenous experience in Canada. So thank you to Cassidy and Kayleigh for being here with us and sharing your story about the memorial that you organized. So I wondered if you could tell us about what motivated you to organize the memorial.
Yeah, we knew that something needed to be done, and it didn't just affect us, it affected everybody else. And there's lots of trauma to this day that, isn't just a part of the past. So when these young children were found, we knew that it was more than just that for us. So we wanted to put something out there, and 250 is a lot. And of course, we know the number has grown since then. And so we just found that it was important to honor those and honor the survivors that are still here with us today.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll just say what Cassie pretty much said. My name is Kayleigh Olson. I'm 20 years old. I live here in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. Home reserve is Whitecap Dakota First Nation. We're very grateful to be from there and to be Dakota Sioux. It's a lovely culture that we live and breathe, and especially a day like today. It's always a good day to be Indigenous, but especially today because it shows how strong and resilient we are as Indigenous people, and especially being Indigenous women. My Kushi, she's in here. I'm not sure if she can hear us or not, but my Kushi was residential school survivor, and a day like today and any other day, I think of her so deeply, but especially I texted her this morning, and I said, Kushi, I'm so proud of you. I think you're so strong, and thank you so much for, showing us the way of life. And if it wasn't for our ancestors, my Kushi, for showing us that strong and resilience, we would not be here today. Our ancestors and my relatives, my loved ones, they have gone through so much. And so the least that we can do as sisters and being an individual as well is just speak and advocate and educate one another, because they went through so much stuff that I could never imagine. My Kushi has shared little bits to my family as well, but the stories and the things that they have been through is just so traumatic. And of course, living with that intergenerational trauma as well, today is all about educating one another and having that grieve. It's not a holiday that we celebrate. It's not Canada Day. It's not Christmas. Today is a day to feel and to, mourn and to educate with one another and be with your family. I know for me today personally, I woke up and it wasn't a happy feeling when I woke up. It was for sure, I felt, sad. And lots of my family members, they're posting their loved ones on Facebook of, residential school and what they've been through and that kind of stuff, right? So today is for sure not a happy day. Of course, it's lovely that it is now recognized by the federal government and that it is, a federal holiday, but it's not a holiday that we celebrate. Today is a day to grieve and mourn and to be with your family and loved ones and to have that conversation. So it really just motivated us, just to educate one another, but of course, our own healing. Cassie and I have lived different lives. As you can see, I've faced a lot more than Cassie has. So every time I speak and educate, and I do this because not only does it help non-Indigenous people and also Indigenous people, it helps me heal lots. So when I public speak, especially about my own story, my hardships, it takes a really big toll on me emotionally. But I know it needs to be done for my relatives within the spirit world, relatives living, and then also our future generation, and then for myself as well. So the big motivation is, of course, just our family and our culture and who we are as Indigenous women.
Just be the voices that those people didn't have.
Right. So when you initiated the memorial and people started bringing shoes and they brought other items of memory as well. There was teddy bears and notes and things like that. Um, Can you, was there anything that surprised you? And you also, there was also some opportunities for people to share their stories during the time that the memorial was up at St. Andrew's United Church. Can you talk a little bit um, I guess, that experience of having people share their stories and what you learned from the process?
Yeah, so when we originally first started to gather shoes, I thought it was just going to maybe be like 2 steps full of shoes. And then when I had actually went down there and seen pictures of people posting, it was very overwhelming, the amount of support that people had put out there and the pictures that were taken, all of the different items that were laid on the steps and people who would go visit it. So then we had a memorial night. That was where Kayleigh and I went, and other people were invited to join us. And there were stories shared.
Yeah, no, for sure. What was really the question again?
Just if there was what you learned about the experience of putting the memorial, if there was anything that
Oh, okay, yeah, sorry.
surprised you from.
Yeah, no, for sure. So like Cassidy had said, we weren't really expecting a whole lot. Being in bigger communities, there for sure is a bigger Indigenous population, and here in Moose Jaw, there really isn't one, right? So for sure, Moose Jaw, we need to take those extra steps in order to keep up with those communities. We are for sure far back, especially lacking with Indigenous resources here. So I wasn't really expecting lots of people to come out and join the community. We weren't expecting that whatsoever. Like Cassidy had mentioned, 2 rows of shoes for sure, right? But that wasn't the case whatsoever. So it really made me change my mind and mindset about our community as Moose Jaw, right? Because they had filled the stairs. So many conversations were being had, and of course with like our orange shirts as well. Like so many people reached out, were texting us, and wanting these shirts. So I honestly was not expecting that. So I'm very proud of our Moose Jaw community. Because yeah, like I said, I didn't expect that whatsoever. And of course, having those conversations, I wasn't sure if people were able or were ready to have those conversations. And of course, it's so hard for survivors and survivors of intergenerational trauma to come up and be forward and like say exactly what they went through and what their loved ones went through. Like it takes a lot on people, right? So it was lovely to see one another, to feel safe enough and to trust us enough to put those shoes on that stair and to come up and to talk about their own experiences of what they feel as an Indigenous person, but also for our non-Indigenous people, that they were able to have those conversations, to ask those questions. Because I know lots of non-Indigenous people are so hesitant to ask those questions and have conversations, right? So that's really just what we wanted. It's just a big educational piece is what it was. And that's what it is. That's what we as Indigenous people know. And that's what we want to do, is carry on. Within our culture, everything is about sharing those stories, right? Like stories are very sacred within our culture. So we educate, using our voices. So that's what we want to do here, as well as I want like non-Indigenous people to understand to ask questions, because if you don't, then it seems like you're not really caring, right? And so it really just showed with having those shoes in the community that people actually do care, right? And of course, sometimes being an Indigenous person, you sometimes feel that people don't necessarily care, right? So it was just lovely to see the community come together and just to be together as a whole.
Great, thank you. And then Cassidy, you reached out to me and asked if we'd be willing to exhibit the memorial here at the Moose Jaw Museum and Art Gallery, and I was happy to do so because we of course recognize the importance of it and want to have it as a space where people can come and honor the children that have been missing and as more and more unmarked graves are discovered, that it is here for people to continue to honor them and to have the dialogues and the reflection that that you've both talked about that are important. We tried our best to exhibit as many shoes as we could. And I think you probably brought us, you figured around 500 shoes or something like that. And I think we were able to exhibit about 250. But can you maybe talk a little bit about, it was beautiful actually when you came with your mother and your grandmother, and we basically kind of officially opened the exhibit. Your grandmother and your family were the first to see the exhibit before it was open to the public. Can you talk a little bit about what it means to your family?
Yeah, so when I originally reached out to you again with how many shoes we had, I didn't think we would be able to fit that many in the museum. And then you picked later and you said, yeah, it's good. We have lots of shoes in here. It's family down. You're ready to open it. And then when we came down, I was breathless at how beautiful it turned out. How there's a display that, tiered up that looked like footsteps and pictures of footsteps. But for us, that's just another safe space for those conversations to be held and to show that it wasn't the past, it was not really affecting people of the past, and those that are today and the generations to come. So for us, it's just a huge learning piece. So we're very fortunate that you.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Cassidy.
Very blessed that you were able to reach out to Cassidy and let her know that we were allowed to put the shoes in there. So thank you again for that. It's really appreciated. And it, of course, shows that it was recognized. So thank you. That's lovely. But of course, I will speak on my grandmother. I always just go back to her. So I always try to pass everything by her first. So she was a residential school survivor. And like I said, she's in this Zoom. I'm pretty sure if she figured it out, she's in here. So I always try to bring her to as many things as I can. And I think it's just really important and it's very significant because my Kushi, so I'm Dakota, so when I say Kushi, it just means grandmother. I find it weird to call her grandmother because I never call her that. So I'm just gonna go with Kushi. So I try to invite my Kushi to as much as I can, right? Because she is a survivor and she's also an elder. And within our culture, we honor both of those. So I try to bring her to as much as I can, and also like I public speak, and so if I public speak, I ask my Kushi to come along as well, right? Just to know that she is appreciated, that she is recognized for being both an elder and a survivor. And of course, this is so hard for her. It brings up all those memories, and it's of course triggering. Like I said, we do everything for our family. And so for Kushi being there, it just plays a really big role and impact on us. And if she wasn't there, and of course, if she didn't teach these things within our lives, then of course we wouldn't be here without her today and the woman that we are. So I just had to talk about my Kushi just because I really appreciate her as a woman and what she does for us. But of course, the display, it was lovely. And, having my family there, of course, all women. And woman is a very sacred thing within our culture. And of course, men are also very sacred as well. We as women are the caregivers, we give birth, right? Like women are above, we are the creators, right? So I actually find that it was very powerful that it was just all of us women there that day, just laying out the shoes, and we had a smudge and we were able to have those conversations, and tears were for sure shed, and it was Canada Day, and this day around it was really hard. So it was just so lovely that it was all women, but it was very impactful. And of course, to have my Kushi's friend, and then my mother and my sister as well, and then you. So everything just plays a role and just very impactful. So
Thank you. I just wondered if you wanted to talk about, I'm just looking at your shirts and the image of the moccasins.
sure.
If you want to talk about the significance of that image.
So when we had originally started doing shirts, we had talked to our Kushi about it, and we wanted a shirt that, wasn't just something generic. And so her moccasins that she laid on the stairs were the first pair that she had made after attending residential schools. And so with her permission, we were able to put them on the shirt. And so for us, it just holds it that much closer that now lots of community or people in the community are wearing shirts with her moccasins that she made it after she attended school. So that's pretty powerful for not only us, but her as well.
Yeah. And those moccasins are in the display at the Moose Jaw Museum and Art Gallery. It's really special to have them there. So for those of you that can't come to Moose Jaw to see the exhibit, it does actually, we have a virtual exhibition on our website. And maybe you'll be able to spot those beautiful moccasins. And I do have another video from Barb Fraser. She shared her experience as a day resident of residential school, and also her mother's experience as a residential school survivor. So I don't see any questions just right now, so maybe I'll go ahead and share Barb's video. We have Barb.
Wow.
Hi, Barb. We have Barb Fraser here. Barb is a traditional knowledge keeper and educator, and she's willing to share some of her insights on the importance of the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. So thank you, Barb, for being with us. And I just wondered if you could tell us why a day like today, the first National Day of Truth and Reconciliation, is important to you and your family.
Oh, thank you, and I acknowledge the work that the Moose Jaw Museum Art Gallery, under your leadership, is leading a great healing movement and a great opening up a space. And when you open up a healing space in a place, and I think a museum and art galleries are the perfect place to start that. For me, for us as a Nahio family, as otherwise known as Cree, we look at this time, and today allows me myself to look upon where we have come from and where we're going, and how education and knowledge and awareness must ultimately lead to great change within. When that happens, then your actions and commitments for change and healing, and you become a part of that process, because understanding that what, for instance, my family, I am second generation Indian residential school. My mother's experience next to my experience, and I was a day student. My mother was removed from her home, and great atrocities happened to her younger brothers. We are now at a place in time where my mother has asked to never ask her again to speak about Indian residential school. I made a promise, a solemn promise. And one time I thought, oh yeah, she might forget, right? And so, Mom, what did she goes, my girl, remember you said you made me a promise. Okay, Mom, I will never ask. And because we sat out on the bush, out on the muskie, and we went through the experience of her and her younger brothers, and we were able to give back that pain to the land. And I was very, very much a part of that process, also of letting go that historical trauma. That is what awareness and education does. The more you are willing to look at it. For my mom, she vowed when she was a little girl, if she ever had children, they would be loved, they would be told that, they were great, and that they were loved and hugged and kissed. Those are the things she wanted most. Be told she mattered, and she belonged, and she was valued. Instead, she got the opposite of denial and outright racial slurs and and so when we came along, when I was born, I know the reason where I'm at in my life is that my parents made a decision that their kids, myself, we were going to get every opportunity in life. We, above all, we were going to be loved and cherished and every day. So I knew I could do anything. There was nothing that I felt I could not do. When you have love. And then I see some of my relatives. And many, I have some relatives that are, some of them are homeless and lived under one of the bridges in Saskatoon, and he's no longer with us. And I acknowledge the great pain and hurt he has gone through and his childhood. And so what today means for me is that, of course, it's not about forgetting, but it's about how we together as a community, as a collective, can bring about awareness and the building the community to help each other. Coming together helps each other, that you're not alone in this struggle, and acknowledging what happened. And for me, I cannot stress enough how what we have went through and my experience as a day student. Still, there was, I am learning. I am in constant ceremony, going to ceremonies, going and sitting with healers to free and give that, all of that back, put it into Creator's hands, because I don't want to carry it anymore. That immense pain and my mother's immense pain. So that's what today is about, putting it so that we don't carry it anymore. And if a national day is needed, then I welcome it. Every day should be a national day. For me, it is every day. And it's getting, and I guess the lovely place that I really want to end this talk is that everyone asks me, how did you get to where you're at? It's love. I was loved. And I think there's no other way we can move forward but loving ourselves, but loving the people who make our community and telling them they matter. So whoever's listening to this, I just want you to know you matter. And if you're watching this, I want you to know that whatever you're doing in your life, it matters and is of service to the greater cause. Everybody has a role to play. So with that, I thank you very much for allowing me to speak about my experience at residential school. But I got to go home every day. But believe me, I paid a price for that every day at school, because I could go home to that loving home. So I send with a heart-warm thank you to everyone who is out there listening, that you matter and you belong. Hi, hi.
Thank you, Barb, for sharing. Hi, Kayleigh and Cassidy, I just wanted to thank you for being with us today, and for sharing what your motivations, and how in organizing the memorial, what drove you to do that. And as Barb said, it thank you for your leadership within the community, and for in support of your family and your community. Thank you for taking steps to create spaces for dialogue and for honoring. Is there anything else that you would like to add?
No, I don't think so. I just, of course, appreciate you allowing us to come on here. Sorry, there's a janitor. Okay, sorry about that.
That's right.
Yeah, of course, we just greatly appreciate that you were giving us this opportunity. So thank you very much, and for allowing us to speak our truth and just to share a little bit about ourselves and why we do what we do, and of course to recognize this day for what it is. And of course, it's not a holiday, so don't be going out to celebrate. And as Indigenous people, it's a really grieving day. I know for myself, I'm having a harder day today, so I can only imagine what my family and survivors are going through. But of course, it's a day to be together, to celebrate and everything. So, just be kind. Another one of what Barb said. And of course, like being on Indigenous, you already have so many barriers that you go through in life, right? So, be kind. You never know what someone's going through. So, always walk within their moccasins and, put yourself in their shoes. That's all I just, have to say is, of course, just be kind no matter like what your race is. For myself, I've experienced lots of racism within my life. And it's just so hurtful, right? And kids they kind of say whatever they want to say. And of course, adults too, especially it's towards Indigenous people here in Canada and Saskatchewan, especially. It's very directed to us as a nation. So of course, all you can do, whether you're Indigenous or non-Indigenous, is, get educated, speak your truth, love one another, be there, be an ally, stand up, do the best that you can do. That's all I just ask of you. So thank you very much, and educate one another. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much for being here, and thanks for everyone who participated today. And yeah, our thoughts are with you today. Yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.